Thanks for joining us on Plus TV Africa. I am Felicity Ezewike with the news. News reaching us on the ongoing Thai cave rescue mission. 3 more boys emerged from the cave Tuesday, the 3rd day of the rescue operations. That leaves 1 boy and the team's soccer coach still to be rescued. Rescuers have quickened the pace of the latest rescues by 2 hours, learning and adapting from the last 2 days of rescues. This brings the total number of boys rescued from the Tham Luang Cove complex up to 11. 4 were rescued on Monday and the first 4 extracted on Sunday. All are currently recovering in hospital. U.S. President Donald Trump has nominated Brett Kavanaugh for the Supreme Court, setting the stage for a bruising confirmation battle. In a prime-time announcement at the White House, Mr. Trump praised his pick as a brilliant jurist. The nominee, a District of Columbia Appeals Court judge, is a former advisor to ex-President George W. Bush.
He deserves a swift confirmation and robust bipartisan support. The rule of law is our nation's proud heritage. It is the cornerstone of our freedom. It is what guarantees equal justice. And the Senate now has the chance to protect this glorious heritage by sending Judge Brett Kavanaugh to the United States Supreme Court.
Mr. President, thank you. Throughout this process, I have witnessed firsthand your appreciation for the vital role of the American judiciary. No president has ever consulted more widely or talked with more people from more backgrounds to seek input about a Supreme Court nomination. Mr. President, I am grateful to you, and I'm humbled by your confidence in me. Thank you. As a judge, I hire 4 law clerks each year. I look for the best. My law clerks come from diverse backgrounds and points of view. I am proud that a majority of my law clerks have been women. My judicial philosophy is straightforward. A judge must be independent and must interpret the law, not make the law.
Following Monday's peace agreement between neighbors and longtime foes, Ethiopia and Eritrea, the Ethiopian government, through its national carrier, Ethiopian Airlines, on Tuesday announced that it would resume flights to Eritrea's capital, Asmara, on the 17th of July. This will be the first time an Ethiopian Airlines flight has shuttled between the 2 countries in 20 years. In a historic deal on Monday, both countries agreed to open the embassies, develop ports, and resume flights, concrete signs of a rapprochement that has swept away 2 decades of hostilities since war erupted over their disputed frontier in 1998. This followed a visit to Asmara by Ethiopia's Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, who embraced Eritrea's president on the airport runway. Thousands of Eritreans came onto the streets to cheer them, and the 2 men danced side by side to traditional music from both countries at a dinner that evening. Kenya has signed a mutual legal assistance framework with Switzerland for the return of assets acquired from proceeds of corruption and crime. The new deal, signed at State House, Nairobi, is expected to enhance an existing memorandum of understanding on the repatriation of proceeds of graft. Speaking after the signing of the legal assistance framework, the president of the Swiss Confederation, Alain Bassett, said the agreement will expedite the recovery of proceeds of crimes touched in his country. Still on the foreign scene, Congolese President Joseph Kabila has put off a planned visit this week by UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres and refused to see U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations Nikki Haley, who diplomats said had also separately planned to visit Kinshasa. Kabila, who succeeded his assassinated father Laurent in 2001, was busy organizing December 23 elections and had to postpone a visit by the UN and African Union Commission chairman. He said Congolese government spokesman Lambert Mende Haley met privately with Kabila for 90 minutes in Kinshasa in October, warning him that the relationship with the United States is dependent on how he acts going forward. Diplomats said she had planned to visit again this week. The U.S. mission to the United Nations was not immediately available for comment on Haley's trip. The president of Cameroon, Paul Biya, has issued a decree on Monday confirming a presidential election will be held on October 7, in spite of deteriorating security situation in the Anglophone regions of Southwest and Northwest. The decree was read on public television while the inhabitants of Beo, the capital of the Southwest region, were cramped to their homes for fear of impending danger, as they had earlier heard gunfire in the morning between soldiers and Anglophone separatists. The English-speaking country fell into crisis since the end of 2016. The country remains in a state of suspense and uncertainty following this recent decree by President Biya. When we return, we will bring you a new update on newly formed coalition United Political Party, NYSC scandal surrounding the Finance Minister, Mrs. Kemi Adeosun, and more. Please stay with us. The People's Democratic Party on Monday formed a coalition with 38 other political parties in the country. The parties announced when they met at the Musa Yar'Adua Center in Abuja, the nation's capital, that they will operate under the coalition of United Political Party, CUPP. The announcement followed the signing of a memorandum of understanding by the leaders of the parties in their bid to defeat President Muhammadu Buhari and the All Progressive Congress in the 2019 elections. Part of the agreement of the MOU was to mobilize support for consensus candidates at the center, state, and the legislative arm of government. PDP National Chairman Uche Secondus, former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, former Senate President David Mark, and RAPC Chairman Buba Galadima were present at the meeting. The meeting, organized by the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) to intimate critical stakeholders, started on a peaceful note, with the INEC National Chairman Professor Mashood Yakubu stating the readiness of the Commission to conduct a credible election in Ekiti State.
INEC is ready for the elections on Saturday, 14th of July. Let me once again reassure you that the choice of who becomes the next governor of Ekiti State is entirely in the hands of voters in Ekiti State.
While the Inspector General of Police, Idris Abubakar, read the riot act at the gathering that the police had developed enough personnel with the assistance of the armed forces and that of other agencies to man strategic position in ensuring a peaceful exercise.
Gathering intelligence around the election to forestall any threats of violence, the physical protection and safety of electoral personnel, both physical protection and safety of electoral personnel, both permanent and ad hoc staff, electoral observers, and the electoral materials during and after the elections until results are collected and announced. Apart from this, the police will be supported with over 4,390 security personnel.
No sooner than the microphone was handed over to the representative of the People's Democratic Party, that supporters of political parties started shouting at each other. All efforts to calm the crowd by traditional rulers yielded no result, as the pandemonium went on for several minutes, which compelled INEC officials and the security heads alongside the various candidates to dump the meeting midway.
By their words, they have promised that they are going to be free, fair, and credible and transparent election, and that is exactly what we expect from them, from the IGP and also from the chairman of INEC.
We're following the development of the story of the alleged forged exemption certificate of the Minister of Finance, Mrs. Kemi Adeosun, from the NYSC. The minister has not responded as at the time of this report, but some organizations are asking for the resignation of the minister. A civil society organization, the Center for Anti-Corruption and Open Leadership, has called on the finance minister to respond to the allegations of certificate forgery leveled against her or resign from office. The Action People's Party and a lawyer, Mrs. Frances Obalim, has filed 2 separate suits before the Federal High Court in Abuja, demanding the sack of Mrs. Kemi Adeosun as Nigeria's finance minister. The party also wants her to refund all salaries she received since 2015 when she was appointed. According to the lawyers, she has circumvented the mandatory conditions in sections 12, 13 and 14 of the NYSC Act, an integral part of the 1999 Constitution. The APP listed President Muhammadu Buhari, the Attorney General of the Federation, and the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission as defendants. Joining me live to discuss this issue are 2 gentlemen, Ephraim Ajijola and Evans Ufeli, a lawyer and activist. Welcome, gentlemen.
Yeah. Thanks for having us.
What do you make of this development?
You know, I've heard about people going all sentiment about this issue, but for me, one issue, and that's the NYSC Act. It's about, if you have gone to the university, you should serve. So if you have not served, when you should have served, you should go to 12 months and do 12 months in jail, or 2,000 as fine, or both. Now, so whether she should have been appointed is a different ballgame altogether, but this is a criminal offense, and she should go through the full process of the law.
Ufeli, what do you think of it?
Well, an offense is not sacrosanct. There must be a process of trial. As it stands now, we are still at the rudimentary level of allegation. Okay, she has not spoken. It has not been tested in court whether really she forged the certificate or not. What we have now is a revelation from the media, okay, and now some parties are in court. Okay, so she will have to come up with a defense to that effect, because the section 35, 36 of the Constitution says that an accused person is presumed innocent until the contrary is proven. Okay, that's the standard, okay? So until it is taken to court, this matter goes to court, and then the court rules on it, or the court gives her judgment on this. That is when we will now know the true position on the state.
Would you say the parties that are taking the case to court are being unnecessarily preemptive, or would you say proactive?
They have evidence, okay? They have come up with certain evidence as regards this, and that is the basis upon which their allegation is formed, okay? So the right thing to do now is to take on the process accordingly, okay? Now try her, and then let's have the court to decide what really transpired. You understand? So both, you have, if she's found guilty of the charges, then fine, she will go in for it.
Okay, a quick one to you. Do you think the delay in response is only aggravating the situation?
Yes, it is. It is, in the sense that it allows a lot of people to speculate on this issue. I mean, and it only makes sense that if she has not responded so far, people begin to insinuate that she actually forged or she actually didn't have the certificate. And I mean, psychologically, there are no 2 ways about this. If you had it, it's only a matter of this. Just go to your wardrobe, pull it out, and let the people know that you have it. If it's taking you thus far, there's something fishy.
All right, away from the Adeosun saga, we're taking a quick detour to Ekiti State, where we know that the state governorship election will be held on Saturday. Now, the police have said 30,000 police officers have been deployed. Is this necessary? I think I'll take that question to you, Ephraim.
Interestingly, this reminds me of the 1983 election in the then Ogun State, when Ekiti was still part of Ogun State. Now, what we have now is what you can term as a situation where the federal government is trying to use federal might in a state that is controlled by an opposition party. 3,000 armed policemen, it's a little too high in a state like Ekiti. And then certainly you're going to have a lot of people fighting back, and this is simply this is the beginning of crisis, or this is an introduction to problem for the election coming this Saturday.
Before I let you gentlemen go, I have one question for you. It seems there is a heightened political atmosphere in Ekiti. Do you think this has something to do with the 2019 elections coming ahead?
Well, the leading parties, they all want to grab the state because it counts for them in terms of credit and force of mobilization. But then when you look at it, the federal government seems to be putting too much heat on these pocket elections in states. Anambra was the same thing. They moved so much. Anambra's own was as if the federal government was preparing for war, just like what they have done now. They are the one creating the tension. But then, the electors, okay, who are supposed to decide who will lead them, should not be cowed, there should be no tension, okay? I don't think taking an amount of security agency is what is required to guarantee credible election. I don't think so. We need to keep our election light. We need to be proactive, watch violence, and then make sure we curb it.
Thank you very much, gentlemen, for coming. President Muhammadu Buhari is expected to inaugurate the recently completed first phase of the Abuja Light Rail project on Thursday, July 12th. The FCT Minister, Malam Mohammed Bello, said on Monday that the president would also inaugurate the railway services, signaling the commencement of operations of the long-awaited rail services in the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. According to him, the phase, which comprises lots of 1A and 3, is only an integral part of the 6 lots which form the scope of the FCT railway system. Business reports after this. Stay with us. A new code of ethics for insurance professionals has been unveiled by the Chartered Insurance Institute of Nigeria. The code was unveiled at the ongoing 2018 National Insurance Conference in Abuja by the Institute's president, Mrs. Funmi Babington Ajayi. According to her, the new code would enable insurance professionals align with the international best practices. Mrs. Babington Ajayi said the widespread malpractices in the industry necessitated the introduction of a new minimum code of ethics, which will replace the old one. She said non-compliance with the new code of ethics would attract sanctions by the National Insurance Commission. Still in business, in order to address the major challenges affecting affordable housing in Nigeria, the central bank announced it is collaborating with the Nigerian refinancing company. This was disclosed today by Aisha Ahmed, the CBN Deputy Governor, Financial System Stability in Abuja. The collaboration is aimed at addressing legal and administrative constraints faced in the housing sector and reduce risk of lending to the housing sector. Aisha said currently, Nigeria's housing stock is about 13 million, with a population of about 180 million people. Hence, about 60 trillion naira is required to address the country's housing deficit, according to a World Bank study. Still ahead on Plus TV News, it's our roundup on sports and entertainment news. Do stay with us. We'll be back in a moment.
In entertainment, Nigerian singer Waje's car was vandalized recently by hooligans in Lagos. The singer took to media on the 9th of July to share the information and photo of the vandalized part of the car. According to her, one should drive off if one goes to an eatery or lounge and there's no space to park. She continued further by saying she believes the security men who are paid to watch the cars did this to her. The first pro-recording contract for the music group Jackson 5 with the late Joe Jackson's signature will be up for sale at Guernsey's auction house in New York. The themed auction will see African-American historic and cultural treasures on sale on the 25th and 26th of July. The record contract was between Steeltown Records and the Jacksons, signed by Joe for his 5 sons. The auction will cover more than 700 items from civil rights movement, African-American films and music. It is predicted that the auction will break records in various categories. American actor Jonathan Rhys-Meyers has been arrested following an altercation with his wife, Mara Lane, whilst aboard an American Airlines flight. Sources say a representative of the airline on Monday witnessed a domestic dispute while flying from Miami to Los Angeles. Apparently, there was no physical component to the altercation, and as such, it was deemed no crime committed, and as a result, the 40-year-old was released. Myers, who was treated for alcoholism in the past, was said to have relapsed in September 2017, right after his wife's miscarriage. They are yet to respond to requests for comments. That's it on entertainment.
Thanks very much, Tokumbo. And that's the size of our package this afternoon. My name is Felicity Ezewike. Do join us for more news stories.